started off as a PG podcast, but then Devin just kept on dropping shits and fucks, and now...
That's right. We are live.
The ghost faced himself, Brandon Panev.
This isn't like the start of last season when it looked like the Canucks were just a beer league team not playing defense at all.
And just before Chris goes, no, I'm kidding, Chris, you can actually go now.
No, hold on.
We had to give more time for coming on late. So.
I still had, hold on. All right. Chris go, and then I got something else to say at the end.
So, an elf and a midget in 2 back-to-back games. Yeah, he's definitely on a friendship tour for sure.
Saying, oh yeah, I'm okay with him being, the 6'7" defenseman. No! He is a AHL defenseman right now.
Look, Shonky, don't mind Devin, okay? We all struggle with Devin, so you know.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Shifts and Pucks podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at Shifts and Pucks. We're live, actually, on Facebook, facebook.com Shifts and Pucks, youtube.com Shifts and Pucks, twitch.com Shifts and Pucks, and subscribe wherever you get your audio, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network, as we're going to pull back the curtain. So 5 minutes of talking, Devin. You had a wonderful soliloquy about the game between the Calgary Flames and the Edmonton Oilers, and I realized something because I was like, "Where's some of our streams here? Where's our Twitter stream?" In my head, where's my Facebook stream? Like, where is it? And I realized that out of all of this, I forgot to hit the go live button.
So basically, everybody, we were talking like we were live for 5 minutes, and then Kevin's like, "Hey, we're not live."
Yeah.
So we're off to a great start here.
Yes. Comment in the chat. Yes, hi, I'm Kevin, the professional broadcaster here, forgetting to hit the good old go live button. I'm awesome. Yes. How are you doing, Devin?
I'm good, Kev. Today hasn't really been it hasn't been a terrible day, but it has been a good day. So that just made me feel a lot better about it being a Wednesday and talking hockey with you. So I appreciate the pulling back the curtain for all of our viewers and listeners.
Yes, that is, yeah. Well, Sean's not here. Sean usually drives the bus when he's here, and it's on me. It happens. Anyway, if you have any comments and questions, let us know here in the chat. We'll get to them. We got lots to talk about. We will get into the Battle of Alberta because Devin was at the game. We're going to talk about Taylor Hall. Taylor Hall. We're going to get into Johnny Gaudreau for the Hart and a bunch of other things. The Max Major tournament schedule came up today as well. And of course, we'll take your questions and comments as well. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that share button, and that will really help us out a lot. Now, Devin, your Saturday night, you were out at the Scotiabank Saddledome for the Calgary Flames and the Edmonton Oilers. You were there. Tell us about that game for the second time, by the way.
It was phenomenal. I know we say this was a playoff atmosphere game a lot, and sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't, but that definitely was. Sold out crowd at I was about to say Pengrowth Saddledome, but the Scotiabank Saddledome. Up in the nosebleeds, I was PL13. Had a fight behind me between an Oilers fan and a Flames fan, which was, I feel like that does happen a lot at the Saddledome whenever the Battle of Alberta does happen, and it was a very, very fun evening, that's for sure.
Good. And yeah, it was an exciting game. Like you could feel the energy all the way here in Burnaby. Like when Milan Lucic hit Brett Kulak, like I tweeted, like you could feel that crunch in Burnaby. Like it was just, that was something. And then of course the hats in the middle of the game when Draisaitl gets his hat trick. I mean, The Oilers fans give him credit. They showed up. But then that save by Markstrom early in the third. He makes a great save. and then the Flames put the game away, and then the chants of "We want 10, we want 10, we want 10," and you know who heard them, Devin, is the Pittsburgh Penguins, because they scored 11 on Sunday against the Detroit Red Wings. So that's how loud that crowd was. And they heard it all the way in Pittsburgh. It's like, hey, we got to score 11.
Someone has to. I mean, the Flames did, and man, what a disappointment that was. Let me tell you. That there wasn't what wasn't a disappointment was Mike Smith and Matthew Tkachuk being old teammates, and they had a bit of a scrum there. When Matthew Tkachuk scored one of his goals, he did a kind of a head bob towards Mike Smith. So there's definitely no love lost there between those two guys.
No. And talk about a play that should have gotten, we'll get into this a little bit later. That's what we call a teaser. But I think there should have been some discipline to Darnell Nurse on Matthew Tkachuk. I don't know if you saw it, but when Smith was fighting him, Nurse had his stick on his neck, on Tkachuk's neck.
I don't remember seeing that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I feel like if there was going to be something, that Tkachuk would have said something after the game, and but obviously, no supplemental discipline for Nurse for that incident either.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a heck of a lot of fun. It was a 9-5 game, and Jean-Guy, it was 14 goals, not 12 goals. But that was something big. So yeah, the week started off for the Flames. That was an exciting win, and then they got into a playoff type of game with the Colorado Avalanche. They lost 2-1. 2 power play goals for the Avalanche, 1 power play goal for the Flames. Darcy Kemper, I don't know now why anyone in Colorado suggested that they needed a goalie, because he seems to be a goalie that they're going to be fine with. He played really well. Markstrom played really well. I thought it was a really good game. Nazem Kadri is going to be an enemy of the Flames fan base for a long time. He got booze. But you got to give the Avs credit, considering the amount of injuries they had, including Nathan McKinnon. They stood their ground. They fought really hard. They got to 100 points. 9th team to get to 100 points in 67 games or less, I believe, is the stat. But that's the type of game that to expect in the playoffs. And yeah, the Flames lost, but I'm not going to sit here it's not like I'm panicking with that loss, but I thought that was a good test.
Yeah, I outshot the Colorado Avalanche, and both goals were on the power play. I know that some people are kind of worried about the penalty kill, but I'm bringing up the stats here. And anytime that your power play and your penalty kill, when you add them together, is over 100% or over 100, that's usually a sign of a good team anyways. And when you look at it, as of right now, they are 23.8% on the power play and 83.7% on the penalty kill, which adds up to 107.5. So when you break it down like that, I'm not overly concerned at all. It's first goal was a tip in. He was left alone in front, but you kind of want him. It's a hard balance between screening your goaltender, trying to push out the guy in front screening the goalie, and Chushkin was able to tip that in. And the second goal was, I believe, it was Nazem Kadri on the far right top circle, passing it over to kind of a backdoor tap in play there. So I don't know. None of them is Markey's fault whatsoever. And when you really, there's Carl. Hey, Carl.
Hi, Carl.
He's I'm not overly concerned about the Flames right now. Keep the process going. You're going to have games like these as long as you mitigate the damage, and it's not like they got blown out anyways. And I know that some people are also saying that this might be a panic push panic button for the Flames, especially since they didn't even have, or the Colorado Avalanche didn't have Nathan MacKinnon at all. It's still, they're a great team. They showed their depth. Nichushkin, he's since Landeskog has been injured. I believe it's been about 4 games. This might be his 5th game, but he's been playing on the top line with, what was Nathan MacKinnon and Mikko Rantanen and Nazem Kadri. He's a world-class player. I think the reason why he was getting booed was because he nixed the trade between Toronto and Calgary for TJ Brody and change.
Yeah, that was a part of it, but he's
a shit disturber.
He was shit disturbing as well. Yeah, he was shit disturbing, and I expect that. You need to expect that from Nazem Kadri, right? If the Colorado Avalanche are going to go anywhere, he's going to have to be a factor. So
for sure, and that's a part of his game. He's him and Matthew Tkachuk are cut from the same cloth, nitty gritty type of players that get underneath the other team's skin. Just got to make sure that you're not taking penalties on top of that, because Kadri has a massive history of in the playoffs getting penalties and putting the team at a disadvantage when he's more beneficial, or he's beneficial of being on the ice than in the penalty box.
And well, that being a Leafs fan, but also he did take the very late penalty on the power play that put the Flames on the power play in the last few seconds, but they couldn't get the goal. So that will be interesting. The one guy, the 2 guys that I was really impressed with. You talked about Nichushkin. I thought he was really strong. I thought Dylan's friend Josh Manson provided a lot for the Colorado Avalanche. And Devon Toews and Cale Makar, if they are not the best defensive pair in the NHL, they are damn close.
Devon Toews, the fact that Joe Sakic got Devon Toews out of the New York Islanders Association for as little as he did. I'm bringing up the trade right now because I believe it was a 3rd round pick. It was 2 seconds. Yeah. It was 2 seconds. One in last year's draft and one in this upcoming draft is highway robbery. This guy plays over 22 to 23 minutes a night, and he plays on the power play, penalty kill. Put him in every single situation. I don't think it's really. I don't think defensive pairs, when you have an offensive guy like a Cale Makar, the other defenseman is just as important to that pairing as the offensive defenseman. And Devin Toews can be offensively minded, but he knows that he has Cale Makar most likely going to win. Makar's most likely going to win the best defenseman this year, the Norris. And you really have to give props to Devon Toews for how he has played this year with Cale Makar, because they feed off each other so well. It's one of those things where chemistry is everything. And if you don't have that chemistry, it makes it a lot harder for you to really read off the player, your defensive pairing. I played defense my entire career. When I did play hockey at a high level. And if you can't read, or if you have to communicate, it just makes it a lot harder instead of reading, reacting, knowing where the other player is. So the fact that you have 2 guys that are offensively talented, and obviously Makar is more talented offensively than Devon Toews. But I'm with you. They are, in my mind, the best defensive pairing in the NHL right now.
Yeah, and let's not. We do have to gush, and I want to. There's a guy we haven't gushed on the Flames here. I don't think we've gushed about him on this podcast for a long time. Rasmus Anderson, this last little bit, like, he's been strong all year, but he's taken his game to another level. Like, he's willing to jump into the play. He's been all over him and Hanifin have been a great pair. I'm not saying they're the best duo in the league. That's not what I'm saying at all, but they've been so good. And Rasmus has come such a long way. Remember in the bubble when we were debating Rasmus Anderson versus Neil Pionk?
Yep.
And now I don't think that anyone would. it would be hard pressed for me to say that that's even as close now as it is. I mean, Pionk's okay. I'm not dismissing, but I think Rasmus has taken that game to another level.
He definitely has. The being the quote unquote top line here in Calgary with Hanifin and Anderson, it's really hard to discount the way that they have been playing. And yeah, you don't have a mega stud on there, but this entire defense core, and I'm going to put even Gabranson and Zadorov in that mix. What they've done this year is they played by committee. They haven't been 100% relying on one person, one pair, but they've been able to mitigate the defensive zone mistakes. Barring Zadorov, but they've been able to just play well and good enough in this Sutter defensive structure. And Rasmus Anderson is a person is a player that has really benefited from the Sutter regime. And do you remember when Gio left and they're talking about, okay, well, who's going to take those minutes? Anderson and Hanifin together combined have taken those minutes away from what Gio brought on the ice. And both of them have done very well, but Anderson, I agree. He has taken his game to a next level. Yes, he's on the first power play. He's not outstanding, but he's formidable. You're able to bring him out, put him out there in any situation, and it's not like he's drowning or you're pushing him out of his comfort zone. He's slowly becoming a very good top 2 defense in this league.
Yeah, and that, I mean, you're right. I mean, I guess where I would put, I don't know where I would put the Flames defense. I would say like the overall 6 defense is in the upper echelon of the Western Conference. I think Colorado, I would put Colorado probably a little bit ahead.
Yeah.
Minnesota's pretty strong. Vegas hasn't been healthy. Those are the only 3 that I could think of that I would put ahead of the Flames. Would there be anyone else?
I noticed you didn't say the Edmonton Oilers, but anyway, I'll digress from that.
The who?
Yeah.
The what?
What are they?
The defense in Edmonton. Oh, it's interesting.
It's a hard word for them to say up there, confidently at least. I would say that Calgary is better than Calgary's defense is better than Minnesota's, but Colorado, when they're all healthy, even right now, I'd say that they have just a upper hand on the Flames, because you do have Josh Manson, who just came in and he's playing with Jack Johnson, Eric Johnson as a depth defenseman, and Curtis McDermott. He's formidable. He's very much like a Gudbranson, without as much experience as Gudbranson does bring to that lineup for the Calgary Flames. But yeah, once again, Devon Toews, Cale Makar up there as well. And not to mention that they are missing Bowen Byram, who is a great young defenseman, Ryan Murray as well, and Samuel Girard. And if all of them were playing, then it's no brainer for me who has the better. And Sean has chimed in with the Nashville Predators. And yes, Nashville, I think but you have a mega stud with Roman Josi. He's unbelievable. Matthias Ekholm is another great underrated player. Jeremy Lauzon, he just came over from Seattle. But I mean, if you're looking at Jeremy Davies and Matt Benning, being on your back end there, and as far as your last defense, and I would take Zadorov and Gudbranson over them. So as a whole, I would say that you're looking more so towards Calgary than Nashville, and then you're looking at St. Louis as well. And St. Louis, you have Torrey Krug up there. God, I'm drawing a blank.
Who's better? Who's better here, Torrey Krug or Noah Hanifin?
They're two different types of players, and if you're looking at the if you're looking at as an offensive defenseman, Torrey Krug takes it. I do think that he got a really. I don't know about his defensive game. I know that he has he does well in his defensive zone, and Hannafin's. I would say probably Torrey Krug takes it just a little bit because he does have the offensive skill on top of that. But looking at the defense right now, you have Nick Leddy with Colton Parayko, Marco Scandella with Justin Falk, Callie Rosen, and Robert Bertuzzo. I'd say they're pretty close to Calgary, if not just a hair above them. And like I said, you have Torrey Krug, who is out with injury right now. But yeah, St. Louis is up there as well.
I really like Colton Parayko. I've always been a big fan of him. I think 6 for 6, I still would put Calgary ahead of both St. Louis and Nashville. I mean, Roman Josi is awesome. Matthias Ekholm is awesome, but I don't know in the bottom half of Nashville. Yeah. I still think, I still would put Calgary a bit ahead of them. But but my point being, I think that the group of 6 is in the upper half of the Western Conference.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, do you want to gush about Anderson a little bit more?
Like his offensive game, his shot. What else do we need to gush about with him?
Well, his shot isn't that hard, but it's accurate, and it doesn't matter. Just ask Dion Phaneuf, Michael Stone. All those guys have a big shot, or both those guys have a big shot, but they couldn't hit the fucking net.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is making sure that you're able to get that puck off, whether or not it's on the power play or 5-on-5, get that puck off the D line and get it through to the net so that it's either going to be for a rebound. You never know what's going to happen when you put pucks on net. You never do. So the fact that he's able to do that and find those holes is massive.
Yeah. 25, 4 goals this year, 2 on the power play. I mean, like his last games here. Let me just look. He got a goal against Arizona, 2 points against Vancouver, +3. He's playing over 20 minutes. He's been a massive monster. And his passing too. I think his passing is really good, smart passing. And maybe this is just to add that's the advantage of having a Chris Tanev. I think has been such an influence on the entire defense. Like, not only we keep talking about the partnerships, like what he's done for Shillington, what he did for Hanifin, but like the whole defense has played so much better with, like, it just feels like Chris Tanev has influenced that defense. I mean, even Nikita Zadorov for his adventures, and sometimes he's a Netflix series to watch, because sometimes he'll give up a bad pizza up the middle, but then another time he'll make a great play. I think Tanev has just been a really good influence.
Yeah, I think totally agree. And not to mention Erica Branson. I think that he's been a very solid veteran presence on the back end there. We know what Chris Tanev has brought, but I don't think that people know how much Erica Branson is actually beloved within that dressing room and what stability he brings to that back end. Imagine not having Branson with Zadorov. That Zadorov would look completely different, and there'd be a lot more holes within that game. Depends on who else you're putting in there. Let's say a Michael Stone. I'd be a lot more worried about that third line pairing without having Branson on there. That's for sure.
Yeah. And just the other thing with Anderson, just to stick with it, I don't recall a lot of games where he's been stuck on the ice for a really lengthy period of time. Like, not cut out on the ice for an icing or anything like that. He seems to be able to make really timely shifts, like good shifts. Like, it's not like he's not cut off ice. I mean, I'm not saying that he hasn't made a mistake. Don't get me wrong, but he seems to be using his ice time efficiently well and not getting he's not out there getting ventilated, which has happened to like a Branson Zadorov pair sometimes and can happen to other defensemen. I haven't seen that a lot from Rasmus Anderson this year.
Yeah. No, not at all. It just goes to show that if you do get blocked into your defensive zone. You really want to make sure that that is mitigated, and that hasn't happened, and that's by committee with the forwards, with the whole team buying into the Sutter strategy, and it's amazing because if you really think about what makes a good transition from your defensive zone to neutral zone to offensive zone, there's actually a really good play last night that I was watching with Pittsburgh's first goal against New York. That first outlet pass needs to be there. It has to be there. And that's on the forwards as well to come back and support your defense properly. Because if you don't have that, it's almost impossible to get out the zone and still have possession of the puck without it being, old school, off the glass and out, Rhett Warner style. That made them that made the old school game very formidable and very not as fun to watch, but very functional within how they want to play. But if you take care of your defensive zone and have a good transition out of there, then you're going to have success for an offensive chance. And that's been Sutter's mantra forever.
Yeah. Because he hasn't talked about defense. He's talked about checking. And good transition here. Do you know who Daryl Sutter said was the best checker on the team?
Johnny Gaudreau.
Yeah. And it's hard not to gush again. He had 5 assists on Friday. Just some incredible passes. Oh
my God.
Like as Haley Salvian often tweets, Johnny Gaudreau is a cheat code.
He really is. And if you're listening or watching this podcast and wondering, okay, what's the big deal? Yeah, if you get a chance to, you need to watch him live. Yes, watching on TV, you can kind of understand and see the magic, and not kind of, you can definitely see it while watching it on TV. But if you watch him live and just focus on what he does and how he gets into it gets into the fabric of the game, but also finding these little soft pockets that normally a bigger player won't be able to really get to. The way that he manipulates his body and where the puck is to not let anybody really near it is world class. And yes, on the weekend he was unbelievable watching him against the Oilers, who, yes, they don't have the best defense, but they're still NHL defensemen, and he's making them look ridiculous and stupid. And on top of that, with his size and with Daryl Sutter saying that he is the best checker on the team, no, it's not physical checking. It's about a check is to get somebody off the puck. That is the definition of a check in hockey, and it doesn't have to be a massive body check. His stick work is world class as well.
Yeah, and we talk about that. Like, I have always admired Crosby's stick work because I think it's some of the best in the game, and that's where Johnny too. Like, he's so good with the stick. And his skating has gotten I'm not saying that his skating was terrible before, but he's taken another step up. It's just he feels like he's in control of the game, and it's just he's been fun to watch. And I guess the next part of this question is, I think there's been some conversation about this. We've had the conversation. And I'll just say this flat out: Lindholm. There's no debate to me. Lindholm should get the Selke. I think it's hard for me to find anyone else. That to me should be the slam dunk. But the Hart Trophy's been a bit of an interesting conversation. You have a lot of people talking about the Rangers and Igor Shesterkin. And some people may put Cale Makar in the Hart Trophy conversation. Of course, you're going to have Oiler fans putting Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl in that conversation. I think a lot of Leafs fans are talking about Austin Matthews in that conversation as well. Is Johnny Gaudreau in the Hart Trophy conversation?
If he's not, he fucking should be, period. There's the East bias where a lot of who's the Hart voted on or voted by? Is it the writers?
Yeah.
And you really, this is where I have a hard time with players who play amazing in the Western Conference, and they're not really noticed as much because the writers in the East have to get their stories in. Well, maybe not so much now because newspapers aren't really as prominent as they were back in the day, and you had a deadline, and you probably still do have a deadline, but you focus on what like the East, which is 2 hours ahead of the Mountain time zone and 3 hours ahead of the Pacific time zone. They don't watch the games out here as often unless they are obligated to. And so they don't understand how good Johnny Gaudreau is and how where would the team be without him? Yes, you have Elias Lindholm. That is, which I agree with you. I wouldn't say is a slam dunk, but definitely is top two in voting. He should be voted top two, if not number one for Selke as of right now. And you have Matthew Tkachuk, who is a world-class player as well. But where would they be without Johnny Gaudreau? They wouldn't be. I don't think they'd be. They might still be really, really good, but I don't think they'd be dominating as they have been for the entire year. So
Yeah.
you got to really hope that the writers are looking outside of their conference, their division, and looking over here, because Eric Francis on Monday had a guy on, and I forget his name. Oh no, they had Ryan Leslie on, and they started talking about this conversation that we're having, and both of them were saying, yeah, Johnny's not getting as much talk as he should be for the Hart, and that's a crying shame if that's the case, because Igor Shesterkin has fumbled and hasn't played as good as he's played throughout the entire year for the past 2.5 weeks, or even 3 weeks as of right now. He's still playing great, don't get me wrong, but he's kind of come back to earth a little bit, and Johnny stayed very consistent with his game and the way that he's played. And yeah, you're right. Guys up north, they're going to be splitting votes or talking with each other, being like, okay, let's, I'm not saying it's going to be fixed, but let's put all of our votes into one basket of either Draisaitl or McDavid. But outside of that, yeah, you have Austin Matthews, like you said, who will definitely get some votes. And I don't know. I don't think Cale Makar will. I think that the Hart does go to a very, obviously an amazing player, but I'd say McKinnon would be in front of that as far as Cale Makar goes. And nothing against Cale Makar, but he most likely will get the Norris, like I said before, but I don't think he'll get the Hart.
Well, Makar actually has more points than McKinnon, but although McKinnon has only played 51 games, to be fair, to me, okay, so I'm going to just tell you, I'll go through my logic here. I don't think Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl should even be in the top 5, and I'm not trying to be an asshole, but Leon Draisaitl has been ventilated defensively, ventilated. And they were McDavid, Draisaitl, and Nurse were combined minus 21, which I believe was the temperature a couple of weeks ago in Calgary, right? That was about that cold?
Yeah, around there.
Around there, yeah. So, and Draisaitl is going to he's going to get 50 goals, and everyone's going to be impressed. I don't think that either of them should be in the conversation. Johnny Gaudreau is 4th in scoring. He's got 30 goals, 60 points, 90 points for 60 assists, 90 points. He's a plus 49. Now, we talk about the minus 21. I mean, plus minus, you can argue about that stat, but that seems like a pretty good stat. I don't know.
Well, when it's an outlier like that, that's when you're saying, okay, what's happening here? And Mike Commodore has always has the Masters rankings, which is obviously for golf, you want to have a low score. And he always brings out quarterly throughout the year who is the worst in the league for your plus minus. And obviously those outliers for the top and the bottom, they should be recognized. And yeah, to your point, we use plus 46, you said?
49.
That is unbelievable. And that shows that 5-on-5, it's not just on power play, but it's 5-on-5 that he's actually doing most of his heavy lifting.
Yeah. 4th in scoring. Matthew Tkachuk, by the way, 6th. So to me, he's got to be in that. he has to be in there. I mean, we forgot to mention Jonathan Huberdeau. I do think Jonathan Huberdeau deserves to be in there. I just he's fantastic to watch too. Kyle Connor, by the way, +3 if anyone is interested. Sorry, Jean-Guy, I'm just pointing out that he's +3. Not trying to take a shot, but I'm just trying to do some comparison here. To me, I think Johnny has to be. I think Johnny has to be a Hart finalist. I would probably, just because of games, put Caleb McCarr in there just because of the impact that he's had. I think Nashville Predators fans are probably going to argue that Roman Josi deserves some Norris credit, and I think Igor Shesterkin he's going to get in there because of partly where he's played, how well he's played, and there's this perception that the Rangers would be where they are without him. I don't know if I think that's probably true.
Well, you also have Chris Kreider, who's on a hell of a fucking tear as well. Right?
Nobody's talking about him. He's got 40
plus
41 goals. Yeah. God grief.
Yeah. And if we're talking about plus minus as well, I just want to point out that the top 4 plus minus in the league goes Matthew Tkachuk, Devin Taves, Elias Lindholm, and Johnny Gaudreau.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and like, to me, that line, and just based on that, I think you have to put Johnny Gaudreau in that conversation. Yeah. I don't want to say he should win, but I think, like, I voted in the poll, and you can vote on Twitter where Johnny Gaudreau should be. And the poll is where should Johnny be in the Hart Trophy conversation? I say the top 5, top 3, he shouldn't be in it, or he should win it. I put top 3, but I think right now, I think everyone could argue it. Not in a race is, by the way, leading with 38%. That's wrong. That's incorrect. But I think top 3. I think Johnny should be in the top 3.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, again, in that line, that Lindholm, Tkachuk, and they split them up for a bit, and then Daryl put them back together at the Arizona Coyote game, and they just click. They know where everybody is, and I think I sort of understood this just before we jump onto one. I want to talk about Monahan too, but I understood the logic, because I do think Tyler Toffoli, I mean, he hadn't scored in 7 games, but I still haven't felt like he played terrible. I just don't think he was getting offense. He wasn't scoring.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
It happens. Sorry to cut you off, Kev. I just think that when you think Tyler Toffoli, you think his shot, but he is a very underrated 200-foot 3-zone player within this league.
Yep, I agree. I think he's got a hell of a. Yeah, I do like his shot, like you mentioned. I think he's a good fit on the power play. He has an intense. Yeah, I think he's an all-round good player, and I think you want to give him as much ice time as possible. Mm-hmm. The line, that Yarncroc, Dubé, Coleman line, I think has worked out really well. Like, they haven't scored, but good grief, they've had chance. Like, poor Blake Coleman, like. I don't know, like, he needs to sacrifice his stick to a different god or something, because the poor guy just cannot buy a goal here.
No, and same with Yarncroc. Yeah, Yarncroc's had a lot of chances. He's hit a few posts, and I agree. I like that. That it's an energy line. I mean, Yarncroc isn't really that quick with his feet. I know that Blake Coleman is a bit older as well, but Dylan Dubé can fly. I really like the makeup of that line, and realistically, if you're really wanting to, it just spreads out the depth so much more. I mean, Blake Coleman, he was on that second line with Backlund, Mangiapane for a bit, but I think he's better suited in this role where both of them, all 3 of those guys can hit the zone with a bit of speed. And you do have, I mean, Dubé isn't really that big, but he's fearless. He can throw the body around when he wants to, and same with Coleman. Coleman, he's not a big guy either, but he throws his weight around as well. I really like having them together as that third line.
Yeah, I think they fit. Yeah, and I think Yarncroc has played pretty well. He's starting to kind of get used to it. So he's getting better. I find it fascinating. He takes the face off the opposite side of his stick. I think that's fascinating to me. But
It's kind of a cool aspect because obviously you usually if you're going to win it, you either stick lift and pull it back, or you pull it straight back. And that's usually if you pull it straight back, it's with your backhand, unless you're pulling it back with your toe. But using your stick in that way to help you win that draw, yeah, it's an interesting technique.
Yeah. And then just looking at what Järnkrok has done since he's been here, he's got 1 assist in the 6 games, so it's not like a lot of offense, but I think he's been fine. I think he's getting used to everything. I haven't been unimpressed with him. They'll contribute, and I think Järnkrok will be one of those X factors that people will have to look out for in the playoffs. Like, I'm not saying he's going to lead the Flames in playoff scoring. That's not what I'm saying, but he will probably get a key goal at a key time that will help the Flames go forward.
Wasn't he a part of that Dallas run? Am I thinking about somebody else here? No, he wasn't. He's Nashville, Seattle. Oh, okay. All right. Maybe I think it might have been Dickinson I was thinking about. But anyways.
Wait a minute. He was part of that 2018. Wait, let's look here.
He's been a Nashville Predator for his entire career.
Playoffs he had 7 points in 21 games in that 2017 run.
Yep.
A couple goals, that's not amazing, but it's not like a point per game. That's not what I'm saying, but he will contribute. He can contribute. So,
and that's exactly what you want for a third liner that can make a difference there. I wonder who's on that line, because I remember that line being a really prominent X factor, as you said, in that run for Nashville. But yeah, either way, I think he'll fit in very, very well, and has fit in very well with the Flames and Daryl Sutter. So I'm going to be intrigued to see how he progresses within this last 16 games, 17 games, is 15 games, something like that.
15, I want to say.
Yeah, right around there. So I've been beating the drum of this ever since the beginning of this podcast, or ever since I joined this podcast 2 years ago. Getting players in before the trade deadline. Yes, granted, it was only a day or two before the deadline. The sooner you get it in, get that player in and integrate it into your lineup, the better it is for the player and for that acquisition. I truly believe that they should push back the trade deadline. I know it's there for a reason, but I feel like if you really want to make that massive impact that you're hoping for a trade deadline acquisition to be, then I feel like you really should push that back and get them more games with that specific team.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I know that they're trying to do that to see where teams are buying or selling, and then you add a little bit of drama, and I think it helps for content, because you can have these debates about whether teams should buy or sell. But I don't know. I mean, ultimately, you probably. I wonder what if you took it back. Okay, so we usually do it at 60. If we do it at 50, you might get some bigger trades.
I think so. And yeah, you for those bubble teams, you got to figure out, okay, are we in, are we out? But I think it creates a bit more drama in the opposite way of being like, okay, well, this team thought that they were in, and now with that trade, or with something happening with an injury, or they just fall out, I think that would be an interesting little quirk to the trade deadline to push it back another 10 games, like you said, at the 50 game mark.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see what would happen. I think you still could have the same type of content. In Vancouver, they're still debating whether or not to sell or anyway. Like it wouldn't have changed the conversation if the trade deadline was at 50 games or 60 games, right? I don't know what they're necessarily debating about in Winnipeg as much necessarily. But you wonder though, the other side of that, does Anaheim, because they've lost 10 in a row, do they make the Hampus Lindholm, Josh Manson moves at 50?
I think so. I know it's easy to say now, but I really think that they knew, they're off to a good start. And you're kind of wondering, okay, are they for real? John Gibson is it was playing out of his mind. Zegras was playing very well. Getzlaf was playing like he's 5 years younger. Obviously, he was injured for a bit, but I don't know. I guess within having it at the 60 game mark, it's easier to say that, oh yeah, okay, so these teams are selling because they are as bad or are not going to make the playoffs. And then you have more of a selection, I guess, for the teams that really want to buy to have that selection. But I mean, it's only 10 games. I feel like you kind of know at the 50 game mark whether or not where they are in the grand scheme of things, unless you want to really push for a playoff when you're not supposed to.
Yeah. So Sean is chiming in here. He says the top 5 will be Shesterkin, Makar, Matthews, and Huberdeau will be ahead of Gaudreau. Maybe, yeah.
I don't know. I think I don't. I know Makar. Like I said, I know that he's on a massive tear and playing amazing hockey. But I just think that's also by committee as well. Not so much that as far as Gaudreau and Matthews and Huberdeau is by committee as well. I don't know. I arguments there for sure.
My vote honestly would be Makar because of I don't think we give defense enough credit for how valuable they can be. So I would actually vote Makar, but yeah. And then Sean says an earlier trade deadline would make for more cap complexity. Not sure, create more moves or bigger moves. And I don't know. Maybe the compromise is at 55 games, but
it could be probably more hockey trades at that point, I think, than be okay. Well, we'll take this guy and retain salary, and we'll give you a pick kind of thing. And I think that there'd be more hockey trades.
Yeah. What else here with the Flames? Is there anything else with the Flames that we? Oh, by the way, the lines for the Predators back. Remember, Ryan Johansson was out for a while, and Mike Fisher was out for a while. So the lines of but Yarncroc was playing with Freddie Gaudreau and Craig Smith.
Right.
And he was centering in that line.
Craig Smith. Yeah, that's right. And that was their third line.
Yeah.
Crazy to think Craig Smith's on that third line, but because he shoots the puck a shit ton and he's really offensive minded. But yeah, hey, that's a good line.
Yeah. Yeah, they got pretty far. The defense, Subban, Ekholm, Yossi, Ellis, Irwin, Weber. It was Sissons, Forsberg, Aberg, Fisher, Arvidsson, Neal, Yarncroc, Gaudreau, and Smith, Fiddler, McLeod, and Watson. And then Peke Rene was the goaltender. And that was, of course, the year of the HBK line.
That's right. Yep. Yeah. And they had, that defensive core was the best in the league, arguably.
Which one? Nashville's?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was up there. And I mean, they didn't get off to a good start, but then they figured it out and got there. And, know, yeah. And that's the thing. Just one other thing I think that, I think Daryl Sutter made a comment today, Daryl being Daryl, another Daryl Sutter quote. We should have like a segment of that. But what he said today to Wes Gilbertson, about being an underdog. He said, as an organization, you've had zero success for a long time, so you're going to be an underdog wherever you play. I don't think he's wrong. I think that there'll be some some people that will look, 8th place teams win series. It happens. Columbus beat Tampa. Nashville made a run. LA made a run. Teams make runs from a lower seed. It can totally happen. And people are going, if they're going to place their bet of a team that's more likely to be eliminated in the first round, Colorado or Calgary, Calgary's going to get the bet. Most people are going to bet on Calgary. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think there is some. I think that it's more okay. Yeah, we are dominating the regular season like we are, and as far as the West goes, I guess, and where he's coming from is that there has been no playoff success within what I feel like it's been forever. You had we beat Vancouver and then played Colorado in the second round and got bounced in 5 games.
Anaheim.
Right? Anaheim, right? Well, then who did we play? Oh God.
So 18. Okay, so 19. 19 the Flames played Dallas and got eliminated.
Yep.
Or 19-20. Yeah, then 20. 19 no play. Wait. 18, 19. Okay, hold on here. 19. Okay, so 20 was Dallas, and out. 19 was Colorado and out. 18 no playoffs. 17 no playoffs. 16 no playoffs. No, wait. 16 no playoffs. 17 was the sweep. 17 or 18
lost in the first round against Anaheim.
Anaheim, yes.
No wins.
And then no wins, and then that 5-game series against Anaheim. So, yeah, Anaheim has beaten the Flames a couple of times.
Yeah, they definitely have. Yeah, so 2015 won against Vancouver in the first round. Then Anaheim kicked the shit out of us. Then lost in the first round against Colorado, and then Dallas. So there hasn't been any success here. It's been first round exits going back all the way to 2006. But I guess the semifinals against Anaheim, outside of that, it's always been lost in the first round. And that's not even with the same team. So as far as success goes, it hasn't been here. There hasn't been any playoff success. And that's what he's getting at, is that you really don't – it's a completely different game. You can have regular season success all you want there, Edmonton. But if as I'm talking about the Flames having zero playoff success, it does matter having that and making sure that there's a winning culture, not just within the regular season, but in the playoffs. So that's where he's coming from with that. And yes, he is manipulating just a little bit just because of how coming in, and he will continue to say those things, especially when it comes down to 5 games left to 1 game left in the regular season. He will say that Calgary is the underdog going into that series, and that puts a lot of pressure, he's trying to put a lot of take off a lot of pressure for the players and the organization by saying that. And to a certain extent, he's not wrong.
No, I mean, I know that a lot of people are in Colorado are all like, everything is hunky-dory there. But I mean, they haven't had a lot of playoff success necessarily either. I mean, they've gotten past the first round, sure, but they haven't gotten past the second round. So, and we'll be doing playoff previews in the future, but it's not as easy. I mean, Daryl also said, it's going to be a waste of 8 days for Rivers playing Colorado. He never said that about Calgary, obviously. But it's going to be a tough first round. It'll be no matter what. I think it's important. I think what Daryl's trying to do here is just keep this team on their toes, and not get lackadaisical and relaxed in this final 16 games. And he's even said they haven't made the playoffs yet, and people are like, well, you're in first place, and it's just he's trying not to get this complacency. He's trying to get the complacency out of this organization and not be satisfied.
And technically, they haven't. They haven't clinched a playoff spot yet. They will within the next 2 weeks. It's just a matter of time, especially when you have teams falling out of the playoffs. Like, is Philly officially out?
The 3 teams that are out are Montreal, Arizona, and Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's right. And Ottawa's right there. They're 1 game back of Philadelphia and have similar points. So, you know, once those teams starts falling out, then they start solidifying their trek. And Colorado hasn't even solidified or haven't clinched a playoff spot either, and they have 100 points. So, but if you're really looking at it right now, it's right now Calgary would play. I know points percentage wise, sure, we'll go off points percentage. Or actually, I can't. But yeah, you're looking at St. Louis. Calgary would be playing St. Louis in the first round.
That's not an easy series.
Fuck no, absolutely not. That's a scary series. Oh, it's either that or Dallas is 4 points behind them right now. Vegas is slowly. Oh man, Dallas has 3 games in hand on Vegas, and Dallas is up by 1 point. So Vegas really needs to start just putting wins together and just hope that Dallas has a bit of a falling out, or St. Louis does. It looks like LA hasn't been playing that well either. In the last 10, they're 4-4-2, which isn't.
They got the crap kicked out of them by the Kraken on Monday. Yep. They are not going to be a happy team tonight playing the Oilers.
Nope, they won't be. And then they're playing Calgary just after it as well. So it's real interesting to see exactly what LA's makeup is without Drew Doughty. There's a young defenseman named Sean Durzi who has played very, very well throughout this entire year and is taking Drew Doughty's spot on that first power play, and he's played very well. So when Calgary does play LA, look out for Sean Durzi as well, because he's a good young defenseman that has some offensive skill to him as well. But yeah, there's a lot of question marks on where LA is going to finish, how Edmonton's going to finish, because we're pretty damn sure that Calgary has the Pacific spot, not locked up by any means, but they have 7 points on LA, who's struggling, and 9 points on Edmonton, who's struggling as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Oilers are playing well at home, but I mean, their road record isn't fantastic, so it'll be interesting tonight. And then you do have Winnipeg and Vancouver, and according to one tweet from Joshua Griffith, I just saw. Shout out to Area 51's Joshua Griffith, of course. Dear Canucks fans, it's over. Sincerely, Math. So although they're 4 points out, there's a feeling that the Canucks are not going to make the playoffs. And then Winnipeg, that's interesting. They've won 7 of their last 10. I still think Vancouver, Winnipeg, I still wouldn't. I mean, I think that they're going to have a tough time, but I'm not knocking it. They're still in it. I'm not saying they're out, and I'm not saying, yeah, that's it, they're done. You never know what could happen. That's my point. So,
yep. A lot of games left. I mean, not a lot of games left, but at the same time, a lot of games left to, in the grand scheme of things, for teams to drop out if they're not playing well. And right now, Cal Peterson has played decent, and same with Johnny Quick as well. But it seems like they're struggling a little bit here.
Lots of injuries too with that team. So be interesting. Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that Kings Oilers game tonight for sure. And then finally, just one other two quick things with the Flames that I do want to touch on here. Sean Monahan got scratched for 2 games. He missed the Arizona game, missed the Oiler game. I thought he came back and played a really strong game against Colorado, but I think it was the right decision. Don't get me wrong. I feel for him as what he's all been through as a human being. I'm not going to bash him, but it was, I think having Monahan in and out of the lineup in the final 16 games and getting Ryan Carpenter in, I think is a good decision.
For sure. Listen, the hip surgery that he went to is very invasive, and it's hard to come back from that. The amount of wrist surgeries that he's had and hand surgeries that he's had throughout his career is piling up as well. It's better to have a healthy Sean Monahan in the lineup than not. When he's healthy, you know he's on his game, and that's usually at the beginning of the year. But he does tend to get banged up, and there's been multiple years where you look back and you wonder, okay, well, where did Sean Monahan go? What's happening to him? And I think he's just the wear and tear of the game has really gotten to him. So I think it's beneficial for him to take that time off and rest and get to 100%, because who knows if he actually is or not as of right now. And especially with Ryan Carpenter, Daryl Sutter has been very critical, not very critical, but hasn't been glowing about Carpenter and his I wouldn't say his conditioning, but maybe his tempo and speed out there. And getting him in, I think it should be on one of the top of the list here with Calgary, making sure that because Ryan Carpenter, yes, he's a fourth line player and can play in the third line, but when he's going and playing his best game, that's beneficial that will be beneficial for the Calgary Flames in the playoffs. So getting him in and getting reps in and getting him, familiar with the team is huge.
Yeah. Rich says, "Go Flames." Hello, Rich. Sean with another suggestion: the drinking Daryl's Kool-Aid. Well, I mean, I have Gatorade that I drink. We could do that if you want.
How can we not drink his Kool-Aid? I think honestly, we know the media games that he plays, and how could you not just love what he's brought to the Calgary Flames? I know you're a Canucks honk, but hey, credit where credit's due. Keep drinking that Kool-Aid, baby. Yep,
there we go. I'll keep drinking it. And just one more thing, just a shout out to here while we're here, and then we're going to move on into. I'm going to try to do something I've never done before. Shout out to Chris and Kelsey Snow. Kelsey Snow, of course, Chris Snow, assistant GM of the Flames, have been battling and has had his health battles. Cohen is now 10, was 5 weeks old when we moved to Calgary. As I drove him back to stay, I asked him if he feels different now. No, he says, I already felt like a Canadian. So the Snows are officially Canadian citizens. So congratulations to them on that. I think that's a great thing. And it just, I mean, I think Chris Snow has been an inspiration to the hockey community, not only for the Flames, but across the hockey community, and the Snow families. That's great to see. So congratulations to them. I wanted to make sure we get that in there. Okay, so I'm going to attempt something that I don't normally do, but so wish me luck here as we go through here. This is normally Sean's part, but we have the Pig and Puck Club contest. That is an opportunity for you to go to the game with Devin, Sean, and we will see about Chris as he is heading out to, him and Hannah are moving out to Kelowna for the Vancouver Canucks Calgary Flames game on April 23rd at the Scotiabank Saddledome. This will include drinks at the Pig and Duke. It will include food. And then you get a limo to the game, and you get to hang out with Devin and Sean and maybe Chris. What you do to enter this is you get to you retweet our pod clips that we send out, our pod news packs, any of our podcasts. You retweet those. That's an entry into there. Our word of the week this week. Our word of the week is Canada, because Canada is off to Qatar for the World Cup of Soccer. I know Devin doesn't give a shit about that, but the rest of Canada does. So do that as well. And it's been 10 years with Stephen and the Loudon family doing at the Pig and Duke. They have a bunch of great beers there that are enjoyable and tasty down on by Devin and Amped Advantage. So check them out if you're ever in town. Stephen Loudon and the Pig and Duke. So we thank them very much for their support and helping out with the Pig and Puck Club. How did I do?
Very well.
I mean, no Sean, but I mean.
Yeah, Sean has his moments with it for sure. So hey, you did very well.
And also shout out Devin to Amped Advantage, endorsed by Ryan Pinder. Ryan Pinder came on this show last week and said that he's never been in better shape. So check out Amped Advantage on 17th Avenue.
That's right. Just come. All you have to do is come in twice a week for 20 minutes, and get electrocuted. It's 3 times as effective as conventional training. And yeah, it's changed a lot of people's lives. I know it's changed mine, and Ryan being one of them. We also have some high executive people, and I'm going to drop a name here, W. Brett Wilson. He's one of our clients as well and has been for years. So yeah, if you want to get in contact, DM me on Twitter at Gordhouse09, and I can hook you up.
Awesome. And of course, we have our Shifts and Pucks pod clips and podcasts and all of that sort of stuff. So check those out as well. Okay.
Did you say the word of the week?
The word of the week is Canada.
Canada. Beautiful.
Yeah. So now we're going to switch to other NHL here, and it's interesting to me because being a fan of teams, I feel like sometimes we have an inherent bias, whether something is a dirty play or not, or whether we should expect a suspension or not. And I'm going somewhere with this. Taylor Hall and Igor Labushkin last night, he came from behind in a very dirty play and got a $5,000 fine after, again, the wheel of discipline and supplementary discipline is fascinating. I'm seeing a lot of non-Leaf fans saying that this wasn't a big deal, and I'm not a Leaf fan, so when I precurse when I say this, I think that play is extremely dangerous, and I think that is, to me, no matter, like, take the jerseys out of this, maybe I'm missing something. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but that feels like a suspendable play. Is it not?
Well, since I'm a Leaf fan, people are going to take this that I'm being a Leafs honk here, but taking the jerseys out of it, that should be a suspendable play. It baffles me that wasn't more that there wasn't a suspension on that. $5,000, first of all, which is the maximum amount that they can give for a non-suspensive play. It's a joke. It's a laughing joke. And so there are people who are saying it's very similar to the Bertuzzi incident with Steve Moore, but the only reason why it's similar is because you're punching a guy in from behind, and yeah, like unexpected to an unexpected player. Labushkin had no idea that it was coming, and he got punched right in the jaw from behind. How is that not a suspension? How is that only a fine?
Yeah, that's where I kind of struggle with that. Like, it's, a number of years ago, Mark Messier did that to Jamie McCowan, and it broke his jaw because he came from behind and he broke his jaw. Like, it can cause a serious injury. And then there's going to be people that says, well, it didn't cause a serious injury.
Doesn't matter.
But yeah, right. You're right. It's like it shouldn't be, because, like, we want suspensions if someone has been injured, then that's the crime. But if it's not a suspension, if it's not a injury, then we avoid the crime. Like, I don't know. I would think that's to me is a suspendable offense.
There are a lot of plays that happen during the game and that are, could be borderline to hurting somebody. That was a deliberate. That wasn't the fact that the game is too fast. That wasn't the fact that it was a split-second decision. Yes, it was. I guess to a certain extent, it was a split-second decision. But Hall made the choice to not. That's not a part of hockey, right?
Yeah.
Punching people and having a mutual fight, that's a part of hockey. And that, to me, is fine. But the fact that it was Labushkin didn't know it was coming and he was punched in the face for it, that's unacceptable. Unacceptable. And yes, scrums happen, but that was not during the scrum. That was during the play was still going on. And when scrums happen, yeah, you got to expect that there's going to be some rough stuff. but he didn't have the puck. He was facing the other direction, and he got punched in the face from behind. That's a suspension. It has to be.
Dylan Larkin, there was a similar play this year with Dylan Larkin, and he got a suspension for that. I mean, there is some precedence for this. So if you don't think that this is a suspension, do you think that Dylan Larkin is a suspension? Would be my question for you. Like this is the problem. Is it's like, yeah, like I'm just watching it now. It's just like, and there's two people in that scrum. There's someone else that jumps in there as well, but like I don't know. It's a dangerous play. I think it should have been a 2-game suspension. But yes, it wasn't.
With being a part of the supplementary discipline and player discipline committee, it's hard. It's a very hard job to have. It just doesn't seem like there is consistency. It doesn't seem like there is what's the level of the law? Like, what is the bar? What is the bar and where is it set for suspensions? It blows my mind that it's not well known within the hockey community, because every time that if there's a suspension, everybody says, okay, well, I feel like there should be like a small window of being like, okay, this is where it should be, or this is where it is, and this is where people thought it would be, and it might be right there. But it seems like it's just a huge spectrum where people have no idea what the fuck is happening.
Yeah. And nobody like it. There's no it's spin the wheel. Like there's been times where I've thought, wow, that would be a suspension, and it wasn't. And there was times that I thought, oh, that wasn't. I'm surprised that they're fine. I mean. So for context here, Tanner Janot got a $5,000 fine for knee and Brady Tkachuk.
I didn't even see that one.
I can't find it. So
fair. I'm searching up right now to see if I can see it here. I don't know. That's something we can't really talk about because we didn't even see it. But yeah, it's one of those things where once again, where is that line? And I know every single incident is different, and it's all depending on what's happening. There's a bunch of different factors that are involved with each play separately. But no one knows where that line is, and I don't think the players do either.
Yeah. And that's the problem with that for sure. The other thing that happened in Leafs land that was interesting, and I mean, this is obviously more of an off-season conversation than it is a in-season conversation, but it sounded like from Chris Johnston's reporting that one of the big four, Matthews, Marner, Tavares, Nylander, will be gone in the off-season.
Yeah, I'm not surprised if that's coming out, and it's one of those. Well, yeah, it's the entire criticism that the Leafs have had within the past 3 to 4 years now is that you put all your money in your top 4 guys on forward with Matthews, Tavares, Marner, and Nylander, like you just listed, each of them getting 11.6, 11, 10, just under 11, and just under $7 million each. It's hard to roll out your roster and figure that all out, to have more depth within the organization. And I feel like they've done a decent job. You have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys right now under $1 million, and you have Kyle Clifford at $1 million. It is harder to fill out your lineup within that, but I think depending whether or not they go far within this playoffs or not, either way, I feel like you do have to say goodbye to one of those top 4 players. If they win the Stanley Cup, you're selling them at a high, or one of the 3 at, or one of the 4 at at a high rate, or if they have a really good playoffs, that certain player, you're selling them pretty high as well. But outside of that, these are all fantastic world-class players within the league and within the organization. William Nylander, that contract, he's outplayed that contract in my mind already. He's a phenomenal player at just under $7 million. Now, Mitch Marner, he's hit and miss. He's hot and cold. John Tavares, he's on the slow decline, I think. He'll probably have a few more, not career years, but he'll definitely have a few more good years in him. And Austin Matthews is world class, obviously, and I don't think you're trading an Austin Matthews off this team, but I could definitely see a Tavares, Marner, or Nylander trade.
Yeah, I mean, we got Matthews at 11, and yeah, it's not. I don't see Matthews being traded. Tavares has a no movement, so
strict no move.
Yeah, so that's hard. So it's either going to be Marner or Nylander, and I sort of see it being Nylander because I might be the easier contract to absorb at 6.9, which heads to UFA at 25 and then Marner at 10.9 at UFA at 26.
That's the year that you're saying, not their age.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sorry. The year. So Nylander is unrestricted 2024-25. Beat Marner's UFA at 2025-2026.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean you've got Michael Bunting coming. You've got a couple of other guys that are probably coming up as well.
Matthew Nyes, who was rumored to be a part of the Marc-Andre Fleury trade. He's played very, very well in his last collegiate year. I wouldn't be surprised if he does come up and play with Toronto and see what they have with him playing at a higher level with better players. And you also have, you have Rodin Amarov, who is sick right now. He has cancer, I believe. So he's going through that process, and he was a high draft pick. And then you also have Nick Robertson. I almost did it. Nick Robertson. Yep. The brother of Jason Robertson, who is having a hell of a year down in Dallas. He has a lot of upside as well. So you do have some young pieces coming into this kind of grade A prospects coming in, and hopefully that they can turn out to be something and someone. And I guess you do have to make some room there for those big players that hopefully are going to make a splash in the NHL for the Leafs organization.
Yeah, and the question will be what you pay Bunting in 2023-24. I mean, if he keeps up what he's making $950 now, he makes $950 next year, and if he keeps up his offensive production, he's going to need a raise of some kind. So, yeah.
And then you have Pierre Engvall and Andre Kasha, who have arbitration rights after this year. They're both RFAs. I think they won't be that big of a deal to get signed. It's just under how much, essentially. Also heard rumors that Alex Kerfoot might be on his way out as well.
John has been
3.5.
John from Hot Take Hockey has been trying to offer him up to other teams. I know that.
Yeah. He's a good player. I think he's underrated. He blocks a lot as far as a forward goes. He shoots it a ton, and right now he's on the left side of the Tavares line. So he can play within your middle six easily enough. And he can win you some faceoffs as well because he can't play center. So it's not, and at a 3.5 cap, that's pretty decent. Maybe a little too rich for some teams, but if you add that within a trade with a Nylander or Marner, I think you're going to get a decent haul back. And I personally, if I was going to choose one of those two players of a Nylander or Marner, I would get rid of Marner. And I know that might be a bit of a shock, but I think Nylander's cap hit with his production is something you really want to try and keep. But that is what will make him more sought after because of his cap hit.
My only question to that is, and I'm not saying that Matthews runs the team, but Matthews and Marner play together a lot. What does that do if you're trading Marner? What does that do? Do you think Matthews would? How would Matthews react to that? I guess it would depend on what you're getting back.
It really would depend on who's coming back the other way, but Matthews and Anderson, Freddie Anderson, were really close as well. There's that one picture that came out of them on their own private jet together, flying around. Freddie Anderson was with Austin Matthews when COVID hit, and they were living together down in Arizona. So they were pretty tight, and obviously it's a business, right? You don't want to be shaking up a locker room at all, but at the same time, you got to make sure that you're making your team better. And that's not even just on the ice, that's off the ice with the cap hits. And yeah, I would not be surprised if Kyle Dubas does, if he still has a job at the end of this year, if he would be willing to part ways with a Mitch Marner.
What would you want for Marner?
Oh, well, I think it would be a hockey trade. If it's not a hockey trade, then you're probably retaining some salary. He's going to a contender in the West, most likely, because you don't want to see him in the East playing against him all the time. And then you're looking for a first round pick. If it's not a hockey trade, it's going to be a first round pick, a grade A prospect, and probably another pick involved or another high end prospect. Obviously, you're in a window to win as well, so you probably would want a roster player as well. I don't know. It's so hard to really calculate, especially with that massive cap hit, what teams would be involved and where they would be going. As, say, for instance, Calgary loses Johnny Gaudreau. Both those players, Mitch Marner and Johnny Gaudreau, are cut from the same cloth, smaller players who can dance. And obviously one player is having a hell of a year in consideration to the other. But you really want to make sure that if Calgary does lose a Johnny Gaudreau or Matthew Tkachuk, that you're going to be replacing them with a high-end player like a Mitch Marner, essentially. And say, for instance, you have Matthew Tkachuk up at the end of the year, and he signs that, or his contract's up at the end of this year, and he signs that qualifying offer of $9 million for 1 year. Man, you want to make sure that you get something for him instead of letting him walk to free agency, player in, player out type of deal.
Yeah. It'll be fascinating to watch. And when we get to the off season, we'll have to see where Toronto plays in the playoffs, who they play. Because that Eastern Conference is going to be fun to watch those matchups, because I don't think there's an easy matchup for anybody, and but I've said that I say that about all the playoffs, so
it's true. The Atlantic Division is going to be pick 'em.
Yeah,
good fucking luck.
Yeah, pretty much. Before we get to the Max, is there any other things that we want to talk about in the NHL that we have not hit on yet?
I don't think so. I think we've hit a lot of topics here. Just the playoff race that's going to continue here. We've already gone through it for the West, and the East is already solidified as far as the playoff teams. So it's just going to be okay. Who's playing who within those 8 teams.
Yeah, just one touch wood. There has been a Brad Larson from the Columbus Blue Jackets had to sit out last night's game because of COVID. Kyle Connor has to sit out tonight's game because of COVID, and Winnipeg and Columbus played on Friday. So I'm just touching wood that it's not anything more than that, and we're not seeing anything. Let's hope not, but just what. Yeah, I hope not. I just hope not. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, everybody's fucking sick of this shit. So let's hope that when playoffs start, that everybody is healthy.
Yes. April 6th to 10th. That is the schedule for the Max tournament. It was, of course, it's a Christmas tradition, but obviously with what's going on, it was canceled. As I zoom in and look at the schedule here, the team I call games for, Greater Vancouver Canadians, are actually going to be a part of that tournament, as their first game, I'm looking here, is, man, I'll have to get that, is against the SSAC. So the Northwest Hawks are going to be there. The Fraser Valley Thunderbirds are going to be there, as well as the Northeast Chiefs, I believe, who won the U18s. They will be there as well. But I know you, Devin, have played in this tournament, so you can give a much better perspective on this than I have.
Yes, this was my crowning moment in my hockey career, and I played the Russians at the Max Bell Arena with a sold-out arena. That was amazing, so much fun to play in. I actually got kicked out for elbowing a guy in the head, it's one of those things where a lot of these players aren't going to go much further past playing midget AAA, or was it U18 AAA tournament now, or is it just the Max tournament, not Max midget anymore?
It's not midget anymore now.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, it's one of those things where young players between the ages of 15 and 18 are playing against each other, and it was a crying shame last year that they weren't able to do that, but obviously it was postponed till now, and it's so much fun. So if you're in the Calgary area, you want to go see some good players. Sidney Crosby played in this tournament. There's a bunch of alumni that are of the NHL that actually have played in this tournament, and you can watch the hockey stars of the future battle against each other, because it's a fun tournament. I don't know if the finals are going to be at the Saddle Dome, but normally they are at the Saddle Dome, which is kind of a cool little quirk for those players. So go get out and watch some hockey, and support the local teams here in Calgary. You have the Northwest Flames, Northeast Stars, Southwest Royals, and Southeast Buffaloes that play in this tournament as well, along with the Airdrie Bison. It used to be the UFA Bison, but now I believe they're up in Airdrie. They play in this tournament as well. So go check them out, because it's fun hockey, that's for sure.
Yeah, and if you're not in the Calgary area, it is on Hockey TV. It looks like the finals are at the Max Bell, but we'll kind of play that.
Which does make sense, considering it is during the hockey season and they don't know what's going to be happening with the Flames.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's leave it there. How do we follow you?
You can follow me at GordHowe09 on Twitter.
Sean, who was in the chat, Beardy Canuck 03, Tyler, TNOBLE. Check out his experience refereeing the Koi Cup. Chris is Schneids, SCHNEIDZ. I am KEVOLE. Shifts and Pucks on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Subscribe wherever you get your audio, as well as on the Area 51 Sports Network. We will be back Monday. We have a game there. We usually talk Canucks, but maybe we switch it up this week. We'll figure that out. But join us Monday for another full pod. Thanks everyone for watching and listening. We will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.